back to Better You. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. Thank you for joining me tonight. And just so happen I have a lovely group of young men with me. But we're going to talk about a very serious topic tonight. But before we get started, let's start by letting my guests introduce themselves to you. Let's start with you, sir.
I'm Eric Miller. I'm a Charlotte native, and I'm the pastor of Trinity Park Baptist Church. I also serve as the transformation specialist of the Harvest Center of Charlotte. I'm happily married to my wife, Tony, and we have 3 adult children and 2 grandchildren.
Wow.
I'm Kit Coble. I'm a native Charlottean. I'm a local author and lecturer.
My name is Kevin McGriff, born and raised here in Charlotte. I spent 20 years in the Air Force, and I have been a federal officer at the Federal Reserve for the past 14 years. I'm married, 4 children, and I'm glad to be here.
And you, sir?
My name is Orlando Carr. I'm also a Charlotte native. I work with the Presbyterian Church, and I am married to my wife, Monica, live in Harrisburg.
My name is Melvin Wallace. I'm a Charlotte native as well. I'm married. I got a beautiful son, 14 years old, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you all for joining me. Like I said before at the beginning of the show, that we're going to talk about a serious topic that's in the news just about every day. We can't seem to get away from how police officers or people in authority are pretty much just gunning down our black children today. And what are your thoughts when you hear that phrase, Black Lives Matter?
I immediately think that it feel like it's a cry for help. Because the family nucleus of the black family is very different than it was 20, 30 years ago. And I think with the absenteeism of a lot of African American fathers, it leads to a behavior in the community, regardless of race. When the fathers are absent, I think what we're getting in the community is a direct result of what is or is not taking place in the homes. And when fathers are not in the homes, we experience what we experience. And so I attribute Black Lives Matter to a cry for help in a variety of different ways.
When I hear Black Lives Matter, and by being a police officer, I get the black eye from seeing an officer abuses authority and kill her. And then the downside, I'm black, and I see the youth die at the hands of someone in authority. So it's like, I feel bad because it's not supposed to happen based on who that person is, and it's based on him being a police officer, and at the same time, it's a black youth. And for me, it's like, it's not, it gives this whole profession a bad aura about who we are, and so it's really hard. At the same time, Black Lives Matter, it should matter no matter who you are. And blacks are dying at the hands of other blacks, and that's been happening as well. Like Eric was saying, it's a community issue. So when you say that, to me, it should matter no matter who, at whose hands. You know. Unfortunately, we've been getting the publicity from the cops' perspective, which is unexcusable. We have training for that. It's just, when you see what happened, it shouldn't happen, and it should be handled with and dealt with swiftly. At the other side of the token, we should also get in the communities and stop the black on black crime as well, because it matters no matter who's doing the killing. Right.
When I hear it, I hear it as a cry for political power, because we've always had this undercurrent of tension between police and black communities, and I think that it's a cry for political power and a focus on having our communities policed by people that are like us, that understand us, that understand our subtle nuances, and aren't intrinsically afraid of black men.
Oh, that's so important. I do think the fear of African American youth, sometimes I want to call it a quick trigger. And I think there's other ways to handle those type of conflicts that you have. And I just wonder sometimes, what happened to the tasers and gun? What happened to the stun gun? What happened to other methods stopping somebody approaching? Especially the majority of kids or young folks that I see are unarmed, and the only way is to use deadly force. That really concerns me, that it happened at the rate that it's happened. It seems like the more publicity it gets, the more that it happens. happen. So I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned that what's happened to our youth. It make you look at home and you try to tell your kids to, be careful what you do and how you do, and hopefully you can save them from not being involved in that. But I just think some of it got to be training that some of the officers are getting, and that first, I just can't believe how much we have to see them come across. The first line of defense is find your gun.
And I agree. And we just had training last week. It's called the continuing use of force. It escalates. You meet, the threat you deal with it appropriately. It can be like, say, with a voice. Then it's restraints. And then it turns into the stun gun. Then you have a baton. And the last resort, you pull out your weapon. The things they're doing is outright murder. They pull out the weapon. Shoot first, ask question later. I mean, it's it is murder. That's all you can do. I mean, it's the training. It's unexcusable.
I mean, that's that intrinsic fear I'm talking about. Like, whenever somebody doesn't think that use non-lethal force to stop a suspect or to subdue someone, I think that sometimes training doesn't help with that. If you've been brought up to believe that black men are a threat, and you get into a position where somebody's talking to you and they think they're talking normal, like, say, a lot of people from the West Indies, they have very loud voices, and they might perceive that as a threat, but that person is just trying to explain their way to that person. And if somebody pulls out a gun and they think that you're reaching for something. I remember that guy in South Carolina. He reached for his wallet, and it was on tape.
And he asked for the light. He actually drive a light.
Exactly, and that was, to me, that was an intrinsic fear. That wasn't. I can't pin it on racism or some other covert.
Just bad decision and training.
Yeah, bad training. Yeah.
I know one of the criticisms often is, why is it Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter?
Right.
But yet we see in the media all of these incidents that we are highlighting, that we see more of the crimes happening against Black lives. And it is I think it does go back to that intrinsic fear of how Black men are perceived. I was just telling my niece the other day that there are times when I can remember when I was younger that I have been stopped, not rightfully, by a cop, and luckily I'm still here. But it does bring back those memories, because that could have easily been all of us, any of us, around this table. And that is the scary part of it. Very scary.
Can I just kind of put some on the spotlight on the racism part of it? You know what happened in Charleston, the 9 that was shot.
Oh gosh, yeah.
There was a manhunt for this white kid, looking for him, and they stopped him somewhere in South Carolina, and had a dash cam show 2 officers walk up to the car, literally. 8, they had guns drawn, and then they put their weapons away and escorted them out the car like this. Unbelievable, and then once again, if that was, the car would have been lit up. And that's
look at Walter Scott. Look at Walter Scott. He wasn't even a young black man. He was running away. Yeah.
It's an amazing disparity in what we actually see in the media, and the black, the cop on black guys is really sensationalized. It does happen, and if you happen to watch some YouTube clippings of officer arrest, you'll see more. You'll see more, and you'll also see some other races being arrested with violence too. But ours has a tendency. Ours has a tendency to be blown out of proportion, and even perhaps even blown out of context. It does happen, and I think that all cops are not bad cops.
That's true.
I guess I do want to sound kind of preachy in this, but at our church we recently had, in October of 2015, we had a Unity in the Community Festival. And we're doing the research, and what I'm just sharing, we on purpose had this Unity in the Community Festival to celebrate police officers, sheriff department, fire department, and medics. Because all of them are not bad, and I think what happens is when we perpetrate or put on all cops as being bad, it creates a fear not just for them but for us as well.
Right.
So it's important to celebrate what they do right. Because can you imagine what it would be like if we didn't have law and police officers?
It'd be open season for everything.
You make a great point, and that was something I was thinking about earlier. Is that what I've caught myself doing because of the media attention I've seen, and actually, if you notice, every other day they were showing an unarmed black man, or it was a reportedly unarmed black man being hurt, being killed by the police unjustly. I haven't really seen it on TV yet. It's like the news has shifted its focus from that, even though we know it's still happening at the same rate, to like say the political arena now.
That's the hot
And I
topic
catch
right
myself now
Correct.
because of the media attention and everybody knowing that there's this supposed tension between black folks and the police. I catch myself when I see officers. I used to not even look at them and acknowledge them. Now I make sure I look at them to be like, look, I don't have anything in my heart against you. I know you're just doing your job. So I catch myself overcompensating to let them know that I don't feel a certain way towards you, and I know that you're doing your job. And I catch them actually not wanting to look at me, maybe because they think that I feel some way about them. I run into 3 or 4 cops a day. I work downtown, and I'm running into police officers all day, and I always make sure I'm friendly to them, not because I'm scared that they're going to do something to me, because I want to make them feel better, because I know they feel like there's a target on their back.
It's stressful job. It really is. A lot of people don't take that into account. It's very stressful. Yes, things happen like in a split second. But of course, the things we've been seeing, it's not a split second. It's just outright murder. As far as I'm concerned, I can say that because I'm not in uniform now. I'm just a black man watching a black youth get killed at the hands of someone who was supposed to protect him. But there are cases that, of course, it's justified. But once again, you have to differentiate between when you see that and when you react. And what we've been seeing, unfortunately, in the black community is our black youth is dying at the hands of a white police officer unjustly, and it's being addressed. But sometimes, once again, how do we get to that point? And as a community, what we need to do.
With that being said, let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to continue this discussion, okay?
All in together now. We can make it better now. Come on.
Moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your child healthier. Search We Can to find out more.
Welcome back to Betty. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. I'm here with some young men, and they're sharing their views about the Black Lives Matter, or our black young people being killed at a high rate by police officers. So let me ask you this. Are police officers afraid of us? And I say us because I'm black too. And some women have died at the hands of police officers too.
Sandra Bland.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's more of an unfamiliarity. I think it's this discomfort, us being, and again, in the South that we are, that folks will love to say, I'm not racist. I don't have racist views, but yet any of us who are raised in the South, there are going to be some preconceived notions that you have against the other race, like it or not, that just come out. And experts have proven. I remember a long time ago I read this book, Blink, that talked about the instincts that you have, and when you're really pressed against the wall, what happens? What happens in those few seconds? And often I think that's what we're seeing. I don't think on the surface these are bad people necessarily. I think they're just responding out of that split-second reaction of what has happened, and based on something their grandmother said 30, 40 years ago, may be deeply rooted within their spirit, and they don't realize that it's a fear. It's more of we don't look like them, and it makes them react in a way of.
But we've been here for how many years?
I know.
And the only part I almost think the same ones that with that trick. If you go to their door and they don't know who you are. They'll shoot up on you. I mean, some of them I got a problem with. Now, I know some of them doing in the line of duty, but sometimes you don't have to shoot somebody 7 times unarmed and say I was threatened for my life. That make me think if it was in another environment, you use that badge. I got the authority to do whatever I want to do. And I believe if you go to their house and you lost, and you knock on their door, you don't supposed to be in my neighborhood, but I thought he was trying to come in or whatever the case may be.
That did happen.
And that's what I'm saying. So some of them quite be quick. I just got a problem with at the rate that it is.
Of course.
Happening,
Of course.
And we do have social media that help put it out there, and we can see it a lot more than what we was 10, 15 years ago that we considered it a rate. But it's happening. So it's good that we can see it at that rate. Because if we wasn't putting it out there, it'll still be in the background. And it'll be continuing to happen. So if we don't put it in the forefront, that's the only way.
Because it's been happening for years. But now that we all are amateur reporters with the camera phones and the social media outlets, we're able to now get it in the forefront. And that's now why I think it's getting the attention.
And I must say, for how it happened was the way it should have happened when Walter Scott was killed. The mayor of Charleston came out and said, that man was wrong. The police officer, they charged him, indicted him, and he was in jail. Matter of fact, he's still in jail. Yeah. And that's how it was supposed to happen, because it was cut and dry. It wasn't no, I thought, and he, everything was right before eyes. You can't, a lot of times the other cop or somebody, it's some couple stuff going on. Then a grand jury might be of, the same persuasion. A lot of stuff happened, and it doesn't even make it to trial, and the charge don't even press. And so, but this time it was so cut and dry, and that's very rare that we had the opportunity to make it that quick and easy. Because other times, it's before we get to the facts, it's like it didn't. Wait a minute, what happened? We scratching the head like the little kid in Cleveland. They pull up on the scene. Tamir shot him. It's like then they say what, and then. The politicians say, well, he's too old to be at the park, and then they charge his family. Then they charge his family for the ambulance ride. I mean, it's just what's going on here?
And also cut and dried in Charleston was the Bible study shooting. Yes. I mean, that is something you just can't explain away. It's a different take on Black Lives Matter, but you had someone just come in, and there's nothing you can do to rationalize, explain that away. That was just blatant wrong, a blatant racist attack of someone just coming into a place. They welcomed him into a Bible study.
Yeah. He sat there.
For an hour, and someone that leads a Bible study downtown like I do, that really struck home. I've had folks walk into my Bible study very often that I welcome at the table.
But along the lines of that is that when the media has played out that there's this racial tension, a lot of these people who would have probably just killed themselves in their mother's basement want to go out with a bang. And you have to remember that during that time in Charlotte, a lot of churches were being burnt too, because these racist people at that time felt in power, and they started hitting soft targets. The Bible studies are soft targets. Churches are soft targets. We know that's where it demoralizes us when we see that our places of worship are being targeted. And that's a ploy by these people when they go to these racist websites and they go to these chat rooms on Facebook and they sit amongst themselves and they talk about these crazy things that the FBI should be monitoring.
And
these guys, and they incite these people, and even for certain news outlets who act like we're tripping about Black Lives Matter, and then they try to make the hashtag All Lives Matter. We're not telling you that all lives don't matter. We're trying to say we know everybody's lives matter. Concentrate on us. Look at us dying in the streets. We don't want to be a hashtag on Twitter.
So it goes to the point that I made earlier, especially based on what you said, my brother, as far as what's happening in the homes. Because it's a direct display of what is or is not going on in the homes. Because if you're teaching racism, it's going to ultimately show its ugly head in one way, shape, or form. If we're not teaching our sons and or our daughters to behave themselves, respect themselves, respect the authority figures in our homes, then when they get out of the house, they're going to disrespect the teacher, the principal, the police officer, and anybody else.
What is in the end?
So it's a never-ending evolution of misbehavior.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has to be addressed.
Because when we get outside of the home and we do the disrespect, it's going to be a different reaction.
Absolutely.
And so if you're not teaching that within the homes, we can't act that way. It's gonna happen differently with us.
You gotta respect yourselves and respect everyone. I mean, it's just the fact of what's going on. It's like it goes back to our community. We need to take our communities back, take our homes back, and to kind of reinvent ourselves.
Let's take a short break. When we come back, I want to ask you two last questions because we're almost out of time. I don't believe it. Okay.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money.
And welcome back to Better You. I'm your host, Cynthia Thompson. I'm here with some young men, and we're talking about Black Lives Matter, and they do matter, and all lives matter. Now, most of you have kids at home. What do you tell your kids when they leave your house or out of your sight?
I tell mine to be respectful, and when it comes to the scenario about a cop pulling, follow their directions. Follow the directions, and we stay prayed up in my home. And if something's going to happen, it's going to happen.
This is true.
But you have to be accountable for your actions. And my son, I have 23-year-old and a 20. He'll be 21 in July. Just be respectful. Don't go into you know your rights. But a lot of our people get caught up. I know my rights. That's not the time to show your rights. Just show respect.
Well, I don't have any children, but I do mentor a lot of younger folks and stuff. It's hard to believe they're coming into their 20s now. But I tell them to help to They should redefine what they perceive as blackness. Don't go looking at TV thinking that being that rude, drunk, disrespectful, I get money type.
Yeah.
Don't be that. Don't go trying to impress people with things that you don't understand about the world as it really is. The world is not a rap video. It's not a movie.
Absolutely.
So go in there, if you with a cop and you want to tell him off, do it when you go home in the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Redefine yourself. It's not hard to wear a tie and to change the way you are perceived. You know what I'm saying? Do something with your hair. You know what I'm saying? Don't try to be that last person you saw on TV in a rap video or in some kind of reality television show. And I think those images coming into our kids' minds is what's making them feel empowered, but actually what it's doing is putting a target on their back.
Yes, you're so right.
True.
I know, similar with a mentoring program I work with, we try to highlight those same things. We even have policemen come in and talk to the young men about, again, how to respond to certain situations, doing a Dress for Success program where we teach them how to tie neckties and those types of things, because all that is important. And yeah, we have to, like you said, take back our community. We can't, it's very easy to blame and push everything away, but we also have some ownership and responsibility in how we can do some things proactively to help that.
I agree.
I just want to piggyback on what you were saying. I just think respect. If you give a respect, sometimes you receive it back, and that's what you're looking for. And a lot of people, they just looking for that disrespect, could give them a reason to do things that's not supposed to be done. But I always tell my son when he go out that house, remember who you are and what you're about, and if you know those things, you'll be okay. And if, like you said, if things was to happen, it was meant to be, but do it in a very respectable way when you carry yourself. And to be honest, the things I received back, and I had people throughout the neighborhood that come back and they say, man, your son is real respectful. Man, that goes a long way.
Such a compliment. Exactly.
It goes a long way
Exactly.
with me.
Yeah. Proud feeling.
It's a proud feeling, and if you can make that happen in your household, we got to start one at a time. You know, you take care of yours,
raise a child.
You take care of yours, and if you can take care of the one next door, you do that one too. But start at home. Start at home. Take care of your own.
It does, and that plays to the piece that when I tell my son and my daughters that when they leave the house, just as a reminder now, because they're 32, 30, and 20, 28. So when they leave the house, look like you left the house and leave with dignity. You know, you don't leave the house with your pants sagging. You don't leave the house with your shoes untied. Make sure you get a haircut. Okay. Spray some cologne, smell nice. And then when you see a police officer, respect the authority. Tell them how I speak to them. You know. Tell them you thank them for what they do. I do it to the military, so I'll do it to a police officer. They kind of play similar roles. But if you show respect, you gain respect and even get respect.
Even people that don't like you will respect you. Respect
really
them
works.
first.
Of course.
And don't play games with it. My brother has when my nephew was growing up, my nephew always left the house like Dad taught us, and so he passed our dad's lessons on our son, on his son and my nephew. And so he had always said, I always ask him, I said, what if Brandon, if you caught Brandon with his pants sagging? He said, you know what, Eric? He said, this is what I would do. Let's say I went to the mall, Brandon left the house with his pants up. But when he gets around his friends and he's left the house and I catch him at the mall and he didn't know I was coming and he had his pants sagging, before I used the rod, I walk up to him, have him turn around, and he jumped because he wasn't expecting me. And I tell him, take those pants off. Because the pants you're wearing, they're mine. And if you're not going to wear them the way I taught you to wear them, give it here. He said he'd make his son take his pants off. He said he'd throw them over his shoulder. He said, so since you wanted everybody to see your underwear, we're going to walk around the mall.
Extreme, but effective.
And he's right
if it was
beside
to happen.
him. He's right beside him. So he's going to walk all the upstairs mall, the upstairs part, and the downstairs mall, hypothetically North Lake Mall. And then let's go home. Okay. And then he take care of business with the rod of correction when you get home.
Start with the parents.
Yes, it starts with the parents, and you can't. The kids have to have the fear of God in the parents. You know, when we were growing up, Kevin, it's like I feared my father more than any police officer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that was different for me
trouble.
than perhaps it is for many today.
I fear my mom.
I fear my neighbor.
I feared almost every adult, I think. Going back to that village, that is very
exactly.
One last question, guys. And I had asked this question of a panel with some 12-year-olds, and response from a little boy really shocked me. So I want to see what you have to say. Do you think history is repeating itself with this happening today?
It's not repeating, but it's not a good sign. We need to reel this stuff back in and get our communities back and get our homes back and get our children back.
Anyone
I think it
else?
has some similarities. It's not exactly the same, but it has some similarities. It kind of looks like a duck and sounds like a duck kind of concept. But years ago, it was just very different. The village was different. You know, the village was different. Respect for authority figures, the next door neighbors was very different then when we were growing up than it is now. You know, because if a child did some infraction, they could walk home, get off the bus, and be walking home to their house and could get a spanking from adults that saw them because they heard about it. You can't do that now. And so you have it's just very different.
So, Kick, what do you think? You think history is repeating itself?
Well, I don't think it's repeating itself. I just think that what's been happening to us since the 1700s is just continuing at the same rate. It's just like geology, all these processes that shape the earth happen at the same rate, just slowly. And I think that we're seeing a little bit of change, but I only think it's because of the awareness that we're bringing to these issues, because a lot of people thought we were lying when we were saying the police were stopping us for no reason and shooting us. Now they're seeing it, and we have more people empathize with our plight.
So what do you guys think?
History is always repeating itself, and I just, at the rate, I do think the awareness that we got, we can see it so vividly, so you make you think. And I'm just thinking about, only thing I was thinking about in the past, we wasn't seeing it as much, so you just assume it was happening, and people can deny that it wasn't happening. But now today, it can't be denied. I'm almost in agreement with him. Always been happening. You know,
exactly.
The changes is that we can just visualize and see it a lot more.
So what do you think?
And I would agree, because my first instinct when you asked that question was repeating itself kind of implies that it had to stop, and I'm not sure it ever really stopped. But I do think it looks differently now. I think it is, the times have changed, and so with the changing of the times, we're seeing in different manifestations of how this looks, but I don't think it is exactly the same, but I definitely think there are some strong similarities there.
Oh my goodness, that 12-year-old boy said at this table, it's not repeating itself because it never stopped.
Okay.
Good answer.
12-year-old boy.
A lot of insight.
Almost fell out of my seat.
A lot of wisdom, insight.
At a young age.
But
Did he drop a mic when he said it?
he could have, because it floored me.
That's very profound.
Yes.
Very profound. Awesome.
Thank you all for being on my show. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. And I want to thank each and every one of you for watching my show, A Better You, here on Public Access 21 every Wednesday night at 6 p.m.